You are listening to Insurance Untangled podcast, where we explore the various challenges faced by dental practices due to their reliance on insurance. In this podcast, we dive deep into the issues surrounding dental insurance dependence and offer practical solutions and strategies for reducing your reliance on insurance. Join us as we interview industry experts, share success stories, and provide valuable insights to help you take control of your practice's financial future.
Welcome to another exciting episode of the Insurance Untangled podcast. My name is Ben Tuine, and I'm one of the co-hosts of this podcast. We've dedicated this podcast to helping practices that are tangled up with insurance. As you know, we talk about all things business, marketing, insurance to help you create a bigger, better, and brighter future for you, your patients, and of course, your team members. I'm with Naren today. I'm going to be interviewing him about some marketing concepts. Naren, my good friend, how are you?
I'm doing great, Ben. And yourself?
Good. Thank you. It's always great chatting with you. We have a really fun topic that we're going to talk about. As a sports guy, especially now that I'm kind of in this very aggressive training mode with my son, who's a baseball player, is talking about the best offense is the best defense. Love that concept. So that's the title for today, is that the best offense is the best defense. So first question I have for you, Naren, is a thing about PPO write-offs. You know, when the last episode that you and I spoke about a couple weeks ago, we talked about how marketing and being in network is a very, very expensive a way to market, right? By taking these massive PPO write-offs. So PPO write-offs would you consider that a marketing expense?
100%. It is a marketing expense because the only thing that perhaps they ever do is send you new patients. But like you pointed out in that episode, they don't even do that because less than 5%, again, there's no studies, actually go to the find a dentist page on Delta, right? Mm-hmm. And therefore, they're not even doing that. I mean, but they get credit for it, and then they charge you an arm and a leg in the form of a write-off for as long as that patient is your patient. So even though the patient never went to their site to find you, they charge you a tax, if I may, in the form of a write-off for the life of that patient. So in that example we covered in the last episode, that could be like, $2,800 over a 4-year period. That is the tax, the marketing expense, the PPO write-off. Mm-hmm. And I think going back to the title, the best offense is the best defense. I'll just use sports, right? Let's say you are behind, doesn't matter what the game is, by 20 points, right? Mm-hmm. You're going to be so nervous and so worried and so stressed out, and you're going to be prone to make even more errors, mm-hmm. right? So on the other hand, let's say you're ahead by 20 points, right? Your team's mind is totally different. I bet you deal with that with your kids, right? I mean, it's always better to be dominant. It's always better to be the guy who has the lead versus who's behind. Now, if you are a PPO plan and that's the only way you're getting new patients, even though it's costing you $2,800 per patient, we did a case study the other day, and a practice that was collecting $1 million was writing off $537,000. But if that's the only game in town, if that's the only thing you're doing for marketing, you are in a weak position. It's like that same team that's behind and they're second guessing every decision and they're not doing anything creative or interesting to take control back. So you are not playing offense, you're playing defense. And unfortunately, in this world, playing defense is like you're digging your own grave. You're digging it deeper and deeper and deeper and deeper. Mm-hmm. So not only are you losing money because of this expensive write-off, literally $500,000, but also you become paralyzed where you can't get out of that hole you keep digging into.
Yeah, no, I hear this every single day. Is that it's a fear that most doctors have, those that are in network. Is that, when we're in network, we feel sort of a strong sense of dependence on this insurance plan for new patients. And as you mentioned, it's a study that we are still conducting. So it's not necessarily something that's been published yet, but we plan on publishing the study once we have a few more years worth of data that we could put out there, which is that if only 5% of your patients that have insurance are really coming as a result of you finding you on the PPO website, you got to think about that, right? In terms of the dependence. It's a false sense of dependence, in my opinion. I don't say that to offend anybody, but that's the reality, is that being in network, it really doesn't. It's not showing to produce new patients for doctors, right? So how do we do that? How do we stop being dependent on insurance plans for new patients, or at least get out of that mindset, which is not necessarily true according to the numbers? How do we get out of that, Naren?
Yeah, and I'll use again sports analogy. Let's say basketball, right? If you have three good shooters and each one is capable of scoring, 15 to 20 points, even if one guy is not doing or one gal is not doing her best, you still can, put numbers on the board. So one way to get out of this dependence is don't depend on PPO plans as your only marketing option. Have other marketing options. Imagine just like those three players who are able to put numbers on the board, you have three marketing options that are putting numbers on the board where you're getting new patients from those. Now you don't feel like, you don't feel trapped. You won't feel, oh, even though it's costing me $2,800 over a 4-year period, in marketing fee from that single patient, I still have to keep depending on this PPO plan. So you don't feel dependent. So I say the best defense is the best offense. And your offense is, instead of using PPO as your marketing, use real marketing, SEO, Google ads, social media ads. There are different ways you can do this, but use real marketing. Trust me, which will cost you a fraction of the $2,800 that PPO is costing you for marketing.
Yeah, no, I get it. And I agree with that, man. $2,800, that's a huge expense when you multiply that by 1,000 to 2,000 or 3,000 active patients that you have that have insurance, what about when you talk about marketing, Naren? There are, as we all know, there are a number of different ways to market. In fact, one way that we marketed for the DSO that I worked with, because a lot of us came from door-to-door sales backgrounds, summer jobs as college students, is we tried door-to-door. And we found that that was very expensive to market, because you're paying a full-time person to go door to door to door to door. And unless you're selling big ticket, full arch cases, that option was very, very expensive once we assessed it. So with all the different marketing options, Naren, what are the pros and cons for those options that are available?
Yeah, so the big options are, SEO, which is getting free traffic from Google. The next big option is, Google Ads. So you pretty much pay Google $4-5 a click anytime somebody clicks next to the keywords you want to rank for or you want to show up for. Third one is social media ads, where you are running ads on Instagram, on TikTok, YouTube, etc. And obviously, one of the options is the PPO plan, the invisible option that nobody thinks about, but it's costing you, $2,000, $3,000 per new patient throughout the life of that patient in the form of a marketing fee. So those are the different options. And, I think, go ahead.
No. Yeah, no, I think what you're talking about there was good, in terms of pros and cons of different marketing options that are out there. Why is it, Naren, that SEO is the lowest cost, lowest form of marketing? When you compare that with insurance or even Google ads or social media ads, why does SEO always come out to be the lowest in terms of
That's
pricing?
a great question. Yeah, typically SEO patient may cost you $60. Google ads patients might cost you, $150 to $200, depending on the type of patient. And then social media patient would cost you even more than Google ads patients. And then the most expensive form of patient is PPO patients. So that could be like $2,000, $3,000, depending on how long they stay with you, because you're going to be paying the longer they stay with you. So, so SEO is the lowest cost. And the reason is really, really simple. SEO is free, right? Meaning you don't have to pay anybody any money for you showing up. You don't have to pay the insurance company. You don't have to pay the, Google for ads, etc. So it is free, but it does take work. So for example, we charge $12.50 a month and we are all inclusive, and our clients by the end of year one are ranking for 100 or more keywords. And the reason that 100 or more keywords is so critical is because once you are dominating Google, and that means you are ranking for 100 or more keywords and phrases on page 1 or top 10 results, you get 95% of the free traffic. That's when the prices really drop. Once you're in the top 5% getting 95% of the free traffic, your cost becomes so minuscule compared to all the other options.
Mhm.
And from a science psychology perspective, the reason it's the lowest cost is Google Ads, same as SEO, but they don't trust it, right? So they are spending less time every time they come through an ad versus SEO. SEO, they spend like 6 times more time than with Google Ads. So because they're looking for something wrong with you, they are going to find something wrong and they're going to leave, which means you need to go through like a lot more people to equal one person coming through SEO. That's why SEO is like 1/5 the cost of Google Ads. Social media ads has the same trust issue because it's an ad, but also at the same time, it also has the issue of people are not looking for anything specific when they're on social media. They're usually there to just relax and just unwind because they had a pretty stressful day at work or whatever the case might be. So they just, flipping through the news feed and watching videos, and you know how social media works.
Mhm.
The social media platforms will keep showing you things you like. So if you like cat videos, you're going to see cat videos. Whatever it is that you like, you'll get more of it. So all of a sudden, imagine you're enjoying your cat videos or whatever you like, and then this ad shows up for a dentist. You don't even remember you clicked on the ad. So not only are you going to look for something wrong because it's an ad, but also you don't even remember. So even if people call you back saying, hey, you booked an appointment 7 days ago, you're like, what? I don't even remember this because you're so engrossed in that video you're watching.
Right.
So that's why I think SEO is the lowest cost. Again, like I said, it's science, but PPO plans doesn't do anything because even the people who are finding through PPO plans, like you mentioned, Ben, they're really finding you through Google, even though you're paying the tax to the PPO company in the form of a write-off.
Yeah. It's interesting that the big old insurance carriers, from a marketing perspective, they're individually the largest marketing companies for dental in terms of what the doctors lose, what they're paying for those marketing expenses.
Exactly.
One thing I just realized, Naren, is that you mentioned that the paid ads, like the social media or even on Google where it says sponsored, people don't trust them. But the SEO part where you rank high and it doesn't say sponsored, but you're still paying and you're still doing things right to get there. The trust is a lot stronger there because people are like, well, they didn't pay for an ad, right? It's just interesting that psychological component, right? So that kind of brings me to the next step here is that you mentioned that it takes a lot of work and effort to build that SEO, to dominate Google. Can you explain or at least provide just a brief explanation of how you do that? Like how do I as a doctor dominate Google?
Yeah, I mean, of course, you as a doctor can't afford to spend your own time doing that because your time is worth a lot more and you don't want to be, spending 30, 40 hours a month just working on Google. But what you can do is once you understand how do you know if Google is working for you, you can hold your marketing company accountable, right? And the second thing is you need to understand what are the things that your marketing company should be doing so that you dominate Google and you get into that top 5%. So to get into the top 5% and rank for 100 or more keywords and phrases, there are 6 things you need to work on. Again, 6 things as in 6 groups of things or 6 buckets of things. One of them is called NAP. NAP is the idea that, your business has a name, business name, an address, and a phone number. It has to be written consistently across hundreds of sites. So for example, if your address in one place spells out, avenue, or another place it says AVE dot, that could cause an app issue. Now multiply that by every site that has your name, address, and phone number. Now you have to be on top of it. You have to fix it. And these sites are run by different people. So the way you fix one issue with one site is different than the way you fix another issue with another site. So NAP is important. Original content. I see 80% of the clients we talk to mess this up. It's a lot of nuances. Remember, Google makes so much money from ads, so they also want to make SEO hard. So they'll keep setting the bar so high. Like if you have more than 5% of the words, so let's say out of a 400-word article, 20 words are copied, meaning it's similar to some other 20 words in some other website, then you're going to get penalized. And what I see in the industry is a lot of marketing companies use template content and doctors don't realize it. So forget about the 5% being duplicate. They have like 60% duplicate. So they go to Google jail and they never come out. Another one is, Google Lighthouse score. Every single page gets a score on 5 areas, 0 to 100. You want to be close to 90 plus. And that's hard. And usually, again, Google changes its rules all the time. So just because you got great scores 2 months ago or 2 weeks ago doesn't mean you're going to get great scores today. So you have to again stay on top of it. Google reviews, 5-star reviews, minimum 10 or more. Backlinks, who's linking to you and if those links are high quality. So these are some of the 6 things that Google cares about. And the way we do it is we have an army, a dedicated team just focusing on each piece.
Yeah. No, I love it. I love it. From the clients that work with you that we talk to every single day, they do mention that it's definitely a lot of work, right? There's a ramp up period. It's a marathon. It takes a lot of work and then a lot of maintenance to stay there. But holy smokes, are they happy once they get to the front page, first page on Google for almost every keyword search that people do, and they're getting these new patients coming in because of that. It's totally worth it. And all these clients, Naren, they all started with that marketing strategy meeting that you offer, right? And that's something I highly recommend to our listeners, those of you that are thinking about ramping up new patient flow. Request a complimentary marketing strategy meeting. Just go to insuranceuntangledcom/MSM to obtain or request the time to perform that particular session. Great insights and most certainly a lot of value that you walk away with after that meeting is completed. Last question for you, Naren, is, so as you kind of go through this whole journey in terms of marketing and decisions for marketing and marketing spend, how do I measure my success when I'm marketing with Google in particular?
Yeah. So one key metric I kind of alluded to is, are you ranking for 100 or more keywords and phrases on page 1 of Google? So that's a good metric. Because if you are not ranking for at least 100 or more keywords on page 1, which is top 10 results of Google, you're not in the top 5% of the people getting 95% of the free traffic. So it's a good check to make sure that you are in that top 5%. Another metric might be, the cost of a new patient through SEO. That way you can now start comparing apples to apples.
Mm-hmm.
A PPO patient, depending on how long that patient is with you, could cost you thousands of dollars, right? Because every year you are giving that write-off, the invisible check. Now, SEO is the lowest cost, but you still want to know how much it's costing you. So figure out how many new clients you're getting from SEO. You can do a tracking number and then figure out how much you're spending on SEO. And that number should be reasonably low. Like in our experience, that number can be $60 or less. Of course, the longer you do SEO and if it's done well, that number should come down even further. So cost of a new patient, if you're doing Google Ads, find out what the cost of new patients through Google Ads. Again, do tracking, figure out cost, divide one by the other, you will know the cost of a new patient. Again, you can figure out the cost of a new patient by PPO. Once you start comparing apples to apples, do more of the things that's costing you the least, right, per patient. And that, in my experience, is SEO. But hopefully these 2 metrics are useful. And the last one, I think we already touched on in our last episode, is conversion rate. One of the biggest problems that practices have is they don't book new patients into appointments. And that's because they don't even measure what percentage of new patients are actually booking or not, which is called conversion rate. So figure that out. And once you know these 3 things, your goal should be to make them better. So every 3 months, every month, depending on the metric, you just work on it with your team to make it better, or with your marketing company to make it better.
That's amazing. And that's excellent. In a day and age where the cost of everything is going up, monitoring costs in every different angle, especially when, marketing costs that you just mentioned here, Naren, I think is a really good idea to help us improve the way we do things and how our money is spent. So Naren, thank you so much. It's always great chatting with you. What a great session here, talking about the best offense is the best defense from a marketing standpoint. So thank you for your insights and for all the great and amazing things that you shared. And I want to thank our listeners for joining us today on another amazing episode of the Insurance Untangled podcast. If you enjoyed today's episode, don't forget to share this on social media or send us a review or give us some 5-star love there on any of the podcast platforms that you do use. That'll help other doctors find our content. Don't forget to check out insuranceuntangledcom to find other episodes, exclusive freebies, as well as future quarterly webinars that we host every single quarter of every single year. Thank you again for joining us. And until we meet again, we wish everybody the best of success.